Something woke me in my room. The sound of someone panting, but I checked under the bed, in the closet, and found nothing. I kept hearing it. It was then that I looked out the window at the rooftops. Someone was standing on one of them, breathing deeply, moving to the rhythm of that panting I heard inside my room. I won't say much about this episode, Community, only that it is worth listening to from beginning to end. Each of the stories today may be among the most terrifying we have ever told. And I am not the only one saying it. I await your opinions when you finish, if you manage to. Be very careful. You are now listening to Relatos de la Noche. Recently, a priest came to bless my new house. After the ritual, we began to talk about spirituality and those dark energies that sometimes touch us closely. I confessed to him that despite my faith, I feel that the supernatural, demons, low astral beings, and ghosts not only exist but are extremely close to us. The priest didn't dismiss me. He told me that even the most experienced clergy know that what we often mistake for a ghost is actually something far more sinister. Almost every time we think we are in contact with a spirit, he warned, we are actually being contacted by a demon. Perhaps powerful, perhaps low-ranking, but a demon nonetheless. He shared a story from the city's cathedral involving an elderly priest. One quiet afternoon, a voice from the other side of a confessional whispered, "We will see you in hell, you cursed animal." When the priest stepped out, the church was empty except for a tall, black-clad figure resembling a nun with a hidden face. That same night, the sacristan followed a flickering shadow into the cathedral's restricted underground tunnels. When the figure finally stopped, its silhouette on the wall revealed two distinct, terrifying horns protruding from its head. Community, the next story is perhaps one of the heaviest we have ever shared. A listener from Querétaro reached out to share a tragic experience involving her sister. I must give a warning. If you are pregnant, do not listen to this story. In January of last year, a woman was 2 months pregnant. While working, she listened to a horror podcast that began with a specific warning for pregnant women. She ignored it, but as the story about a lost child unfolded, she felt a profound, cold void in her stomach. That night, her husband woke up terrified. He had dreamt he was holding their baby when a dark shadow appeared, claiming the child was already his. The entity offered to spare the baby only if the husband delivered the mother instead. 2 days later, a doctor confirmed that the baby had passed away on that very Thursday, the same day she had listened to the story. The third account takes us to San Miguel de Allende, near the hills of Los Picachos. Growing up there, the narrator and their friends were warned by a local woman that the demons were watching them play, drawn by the scary stories they told. Soon, the neighborhood was haunted by the sounds of phantom children singing on Saturday nights. Seeking adventure, the group visited an abandoned Goblin house. Behind a fence, they saw a figure, tall, impossibly thin, and darker than any shadow. They fled, but the entity chased them with unnatural speed. That night, the narrator's sister was awakened by the sound of rhythmic panting inside her room. When she looked out the window, she saw that same tall figure crouched on a neighbor's roof, its chest heaving in perfect time with the sound in her bedroom. The entity only left after the entire block was blessed by a priest. Finally, we hear of a man who lived in an old apartment building with long, dim hallways. The apartment across from his always had a bright white light leaking from under the door. He never saw the neighbor, but every time he returned home, he saw the shadow of feet standing behind the door, as if someone were watching him through the peephole. When he finally asked the building's caretaker about the man across the hall, the answer chilled him. "No one has lived there for months," she said. "The last tenant died in his sleep. They only found him because of the smell." That night, for the first time, the light in the hallway was out. The narrator lay in bed until he heard slow, dragging footsteps outside. He looked through his peephole, but the hall was empty. Then he heard it, the soft, unmistakable sound of someone standing right against his door, breathing. He moved out the very next day. There are entities among us, listening and waiting for us to acknowledge them. Be careful what you challenge, and be careful what you invite into your home. Good night, and I hope you don't have nightmares.